Nick Sortor tweeted out, just now, reports of a large explosion felt across several townships in the Boston area, as well as Rhode Island. Buildings were felt shaking, but USGS has not registered an earthquake. Police are unsure what just happened. No confirmed visible fire or smoke yet. And then, there's a video here. That is weird. That just sounds kind of like thumping, but I guess maybe it was like louder in person? I don't know. Yeah, that just sounds like a sound effect in like a video game. I don't know. Here you go, folks. Definitely a meteor causing the big boom. The flash density product really shows this anomalous flash, which is pretty distinctive of a Bolide meteor re-entry east of Boston. This is likely the source of the loud boom / explosion. I have quite literally no idea what I'm looking at here. It's like the heat map that tells me people on the left don't understand to take care of their own before others, but I don't understand what I'm looking at. All the Northeast fireball reports trickling in around 2:10 p.m. Likely burned and broke up before pieces hit, though sometimes fragments reach. Interesting. I think it's pronounced Bolide. Bolide? You don't believe them. It looks like aliens. It was crazy how loud it was. Your dad said it sounded like a rocket back when he was still in Vietnam. Jesus Christ. Mr. Mellon, thank you. It just sounds like someone knocking on the door. Yeah, I was going to say, I imagine that it's probably something much louder in person. And so it's like really, really low in video. It's peaceful. Them birds just kept on chirping, bro. They got a Japanese maple in the back here. Them's is pretties. Sounded like the dynamite sound effect. Yeah. Not quite earth-shattering kaboom. Well, I mean, it's going to be lower in video than it will be in person. Reports of an explosion heard around Boston, I believe, are going to be a rather significant Bolide / meteor entering the atmosphere. Very large flash detected by GEOS 19 GLM that does not correlate with active thunderstorms. What an interesting place for it to land, though. Like right in the little hook of the bay. What an interesting landing area. Boston almost got smited. Did look at GLM data following that event, and it was inconclusive as there were also thunderstorms across the southeast. So it's hard to pull out of the background environment if that makes sense. I do believe it was also a meteor entry Bolide event though, based on other context clues. Man, if I got away from the horrendousness that is the South only to be taken out by a fucking meteor at some point, I'm gonna be so upset. I finally was able to afford a home in my old age, and then I got killed by a meteor. This guy said, threatening to beat someone up for watching Madoka Magica is completely sending me. I don't know how we've gotten to the point where people claim to be fans of anime and have never heard of, like, Haruhi, and then try to, like, yell at people who talk about Haruhi, and now Madoka Magica is, like, for pedophiles or some shit. Like, what the fuck is happening?
You are a fucking chomo.
No, Zipper, can you pull Madoka Magica?
What are you getting him to do that for?
What if the child is 1,000 years old?
That's what I'm saying. That's what we always do, and we always make excuses for these fucking people.
Can I just say that it's really ironic that the guy here who has the most, like, pedophilic physiognomy is the one calling people pedophiles for enjoying Madoka Magica? I just want to point out that little hilarious piece of instance here. The other guy's like, yeah, pull it up, let's go, it's a great show. They're gonna make pedo as meaningless as Nazi? What do you mean going to make? I feel like they already have. There's like this weird conglomerate of people that act exactly like the Twitter freaks calling everyone a Nazi, except they do it with pedo instead.
Okay, so just tell me.
Right, so what are we doing?
Images? I'm just asking if Puella Magi Madoka Magica would count for this category you're talking about.
If I meet somebody, if I start a new job and my coworker says this is his favorite anime, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you after work.
Like, just for enjoying the show? He's not even like, yeah, I jerk off to that every night, but just enjoying the show, buddy? What the fuck? What is wrong with you?
We're gonna kill you, man.
Wouldn't do that. We're gonna beat the shit out of by the dumpster.
We're gonna turn the water up slowly until
They do know you can watch a show without jacking off to it. I don't think they do. I don't think he does know that you can watch a show without getting sexually aroused, which is kind of concerning. Ah, yes, a Redditor with casual violence as a way to relate to others.
you don't notice it's boiling.
I'd talk to them less.
It's a good show.
It is a good show. I fucking cried when I watched it, man. I fucking cried watching Madoka Magica. I like how the show subverts the usual Maho Shoujo tropes. You must be a pedo. Absolutely ridiculous.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Ludwig.
Okay.
Why is that? When is that
Okay.
ever a good enough reason?
You are a fucking chomo.
Methinks the lady doth protest a bit too much. Like, he's really going hard at this. And also, who is this guy here? He kind of looks like a dollar store Mr. T Lexify.
Who?
Another labyrinthian Foxu reference. Does this look like something a Zoomer alcoholic Mormon bodybuilder man would watch? Because that's the only exposure I've gotten. What the fuck? What the fuck?
It's more so.
Did he get stung by a bee? Why does he look like this? Why does he have herpes? Why does he have herpes and a pedo stash? Why does he look like a divorced father at 42 at a bar in Miami? Now I know what not to make my Hawaiian shirt look like. What is this? Why the fuck is this a thing? This is gonna be horrible. Go to bed? Why are you doing that? I can't even get context from his chat. Lex looking like he got beat up in the morning streets. Okay, was his wisdom teeth? Okay, all right. I fucking understand that, man. I got my wisdom teeth ripped out, and I couldn't move my mouth. He looks the same, just old. Yeah, he looks better than he did actually. He looks marginally cuter. He's gay now. RFK Jr. says HHS is working to find a cure for alpha-gal, the tick disease that can make you allergic to red meat for life. One bite from a Lone Star tick and you can have a lifetime allergy to red meat. Now, normally I'd be like, hey, that's great. I'd love to see that happen. However, when I remember that it was the government doing experiments with bioweapons that released the Lone Star tick in the first place, and alpha-gal syndrome as a result of that, them messing around in the laboratory, I'm not really keen on the government giving a cure to something they created in the first place. That seems kind of weird.
One of the tick-borne disease besides Lyme that is of great concern to the American people.
My
an
left
increasing
ear
concern
fucking
is
loves this,
alpha-gal.
bro.
And alpha-gal, which is another science fiction nightmare. You get one bite from a Lone Star tick and you could have a lifetime allergy to red meat. And
I just want to point out that everyone behind him looks like a caricature of an evil corporate overlord. You've got, like, the evil scientist who uses people as cattle. You've got, like, the woman who rules with an iron fist and is only allowed to have her corporate empire because of her further evil husband. And then you've got, like, the cowboy corporate archetype where he's like, I'ma own all the land. There ain't shit you can do about it, buddy. Guy in glasses look like Gru's assistant.
I was surprised to learn on my trip to visit the Wampanoag for the Indian Health Services this fall that 50% of the population of Martha's Vineyard now has alpha-gal, including most members of the tribe. And so by controlling the breeding on the deer, we also can control alpha-gal as well. We're also working on medicines that can prevent alpha-gal and that have the potential, the promise of actually curing it. And one of those medicines is almost ready. We're fast-tracking it. And then we're doing the studies over the next 2 years to see if we can actually reverse this devastating disease.
I don't know, I guess, that'd be great, but so you have people giving TED Talks about dropping boxes of ticks in the woods to cause an allergic reaction to red meat. And now there's another big pharma cure almost ready. things that make you go, Is it true that 50% of Martha's Vineyard population has alpha-gal syndrome? No, 50% of Martha's Vineyard population has alpha-gal isn't accurate. Year-round, a population is 20 to 24K. MV hospital data shows a real surge from Lone Star ticks. 724 positive tests out of 1,632 in 2025. About a 44% positivity rate among tested people. Earlier years were far lower, but testing targets symptomatic or concerned residents, not random population sampling. I mean, if it's 44% positivity rate, he probably just rounded up to 50. Not stupid, but what the fuck is alpha-gal? Alpha-gal is the disease that if you get bitten by a Lone Star tick, you become allergic to red meat. Like, you can no longer eat red meat. 44% is still very fucking high. Yeah, it is. That's smart. Make the rich people allergic to red meat, and then they fast-track a cure. More than 0% is a problem. True and fucking real. Internet Zen Master, thank you. That was Bill Gates plus the WHO, the U.S. For once, the U.S. government, read the damn CIA glowy boys, aren't responsible for this mess. Surprisingly. Yeah, but it's still like, this was a manufactured thing that now the government is going to offer a cure for. The last time the government offered a cure for something, that didn't really go well, so I'm gonna like withhold any kind of positivity about this for now. Do we have proof that it was Bill Gates, or is it a we know but can't prove? I know Bill Gates has like that mosquito fucking breeding system thing, but also there was the facility off the coast of Connecticut has like an island name that's the same as another island, Plum Island. It's a Plum Island off the coast of Connecticut where Lyme disease was bioengineered with ticks. And so I'm pretty sure everyone is also assuming that alpha-gal is also bioengineered, much like Lyme. Very true. You do recall some WEF clowns saying they were experimenting with the alpha-gal thing to try and make everyone not eat meat anymore? Yeah, that was like some Asian guy. I'm pretty sure I played that video from like some WEF conference.
So I'll give two examples. So one is that people eat too much meat, right? And if they were to cut down on their consumption on meat, then they would it would actually really help the planet. But people are not willing to give up meat. Yeah, you know, some people will be willing to, but other people, they may be willing to, but they have a weakness of will. They say, wow, this steak is just too juicy. I can't do it. I'm one of those, by the way. So, you know, but so here's the thought, right? So it turns out that we know a lot about, we have these intolerance to, for example, I have milk intolerance. And some people are intolerant to crayfish. So possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat, to certain kinds of bovine proteins. And there's actually analogs of this in life. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you'll become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of possibly address really big world problems through human engineering.
Chicago to Minneapolis United Airlines flight diverted after attempted cockpit breach. A United Airlines flight bound for Minneapolis from Chicago was reportedly diverted after an unruly passenger tried to breach the cockpit late on Friday. Air marshals have been waiting for this day, man. The FBI and police responded to reports of a security concern with the passenger who was detained by police at the Dane County Regional Airport in Madison, Wisconsin. The flight continued its journey to Minneapolis, landing early on Saturday morning, according to FlightAware data. There were no reported injuries among the 147 passengers and 6 crew members on board the flight. A United spokesperson said Flight 2005 landed safely in Madison to address a security concern with an unruly passenger. And I don't know if they're going to mention it in the article, but one of the tweets we read last night when this was like basically just happening was that the unruly passenger was like screaming in Russian. And there was a comment that was like, to people who don't know the language, a Chechen, which is a like sect of Muslims, I guess, in Russia, ? Apparently they can sound like they're speaking Russian, but they're not. So apparently like the Chechen is like different from the Czechia people. The FBI in Milwaukee said the agency was notified of the flight's diversion and its agents, along with local law enforcement responding to the airport. The subject was detained by the local sheriff's office, and afterwards passengers resumed their flight. In air traffic communications reported by NBC News, personnel on board the plane could be heard discussing the attempted cockpit breach with ground control. I do not believe they ever cuffed him, but they were able to finally get control of him after multiple attempts to try and breach the cockpit, a member of the crew said. I believe at this point he is seated in a seat and flanked with law enforcement officers on either side. And we did see some pictures of like law enforcement being on the plane and looking like it escorted someone out. Aircraft hijackings are almost unheard of in the US since the September 11th terrorist attacks in 2001, when 4 aircraft were taken over by Islamic extremists, including 2 that crashed into and destroyed New York's World Trade Center. But between 1968 and 1972, known as hijacking's so-called Golden Age, more than 130 US planes were hijacked. Many of those hijackers demanded to be flown to Cuba. Well, that's kind of weird. That's a strange demand. What the fuck? Take us to Guantanamo Bay. Okay. Yeah, right? What the fuck? Maine, in Lewiston, 1,500 Somalis packed the Colisee ice arena to celebrate the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Adha. Mainers, this is the result of official policy. Your government is giving away your homeland to a people that speak foreign tongues and worship strange gods. And there are some people like in the comments saying, oh yeah, this lady, I lived there for 20 years and they've never filled the Colisee before. Quiet little New England towns are not producing enough GDP, so they will replace you with cheap labor that multiplies exponentially. This is wild to see in fucking Maine, of all places. Like, what the hell, dude? Maine politicos need to go back with these invaders? Maine politicians are actually fucking crazy. Like, I thought Massachusetts was fucked, and then I started, like, reading what the politicians in Maine have been up to, and it's like, what the fuck is happening? That's insane. An immigration attorney with over 35,000 clients resigned from her Washington State law license and is permanently banned from practicing there. The Washington State Bar Association's disciplinary board found that Alexandra Lozano Kennedy filed applications for benefits with U.S. citizenship and immigration services when her clients were ineligible and used non-lawyers to perform work for them. Of course, it's a white woman with horrendous fashion sense, but like, what the fuck? Why is she not just arrested? I think it's a great start that she has her license revoked and is banned from practicing in the state of Washington. That's more than what's happened to literally anybody else attempting to destroy our country. So like, at least that's happened, because that hasn't happened to anybody else. But yeah, there should be more than that. She should be arrested. So, Columbus Dispatch said, Shrey Parikh, 14, wins Scripps National Spelling Bee in dramatic spell-off. And someone posted this video here.
Taroni.
T-O-R-O-N-E.
Enthamine.
E-N-T-H-Y-M-E-M-E.
Iguape.
I-G-U-P.
Denebola.
D-N-E-B-O-L-A.
Feidodo.
F-A-I-S-D-O-D-O.
Coathai.
C-Y-W-Y-D-D-A-U.
Pohutakawa.
P-O-H-U-T-U-K-A-W-A.
Monadnock.
M-O-N-A-D-N-O-C-K.
Emut.
E-M-U-T.
Nanofossil.
N-A-N-O-F-O-S-S-I-L.
Tongkang.
T-O-N-G-K-N-G.
Nakatosh.
N-A-T-C-H-I-T-O-C-H-E-S.
Flop.
I'm gonna be real, I haven't even heard of like, at least 90% of these words.
F-L-A-I-T-H.
Semele.
S-E-M-E-L-E.
Russell.
R-U-S-E-L-L.
Solder.
That's just a name.
S-A-W-D-E-R.
Campernell.
C-M-P-R-N-E-L-L-E.
Nickel.
That's a
N-I-C-O-L.
Zaminus.
Z-A-M-E-N-I-S.
Tar Parker.
T-H-A-R-P-R-K-A-R.
Tlachli.
T-L-A-C-H-T-L-I.
Madoqua.
M-A-D-O-Q-U-A.
Retiarius.
R-E-T-I-A-R-I-U-S.
Belintawak.
B-L-I-N-T-A-W-A-K.
Tesseraconter.
T-S-S-A-R-A-C-O-N-T-E-R.
Toracatapsia.
T-A-U-R-O-K-T-H-A-P-S-I-A.
And that's a great question. How do you know it's solder and not solder? That's a great question. How did you know which one it was? Fucking what?
Rapakivi.
R-A-P-A-K-I-V-I.
What the fuck's a Rapakivi?
U-A-Y-B.
Paремia.
P-A-R-O-E-M-I-A.
Melanket.
M-E-L-E-N-G-K-E-T.
Terraglin.
T-R-A-G-L-I-N.
Homeland.
H-O-M-E-L-Y-N.
Chikungunya.
C-H-I-K-U-N-G-U-N-Y-A.
I love
Bromocriptine.
chikungunya. It's my favorite dish.
Kashaw.
C-U-S-H-A-W.
This is like that Key and Peele sketch with the black football players that have crazy names. So he won the spelling bee. And then this person says, I don't know who Theophilus Chilton, Scott, Irish supremacist, I don't know who this is. But he said, since I've had a few Indians in the comments trying to argue that spelling bees and science Olympiads are meritocracy, I think it's relevant to point out once again the problem with that argument, which is that both of these types of events rely on more or less rote memorization rather than actual knowledge, creativity, or even genuine comprehension of the material. Indian kids win spelling bees because they're forced by their parents to spend 10 hours a day memorizing lists of words provided by scripts. We are told that this is merit and that Indians are bringing great value to America! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Exactly what value is generated by memorizing lists of words to spell? The answer is none. There's no value in this. Spelling bees conducted along these lines are dumb and completely undiagnostic. These kids don't read. How would they have the time? They know how to spell words, but not what the words mean or how to properly use them in ways that make either denotative or connotative sense. These kids don't know words because they read a lot and learn how to use them while also learning how to think and be creative. The Indian kids who win these spelling bees are functionally no different than dogs at a dog show who win by being able to climb a ramp the fastest because they've done it 5,000 times and have a Pavlovian reflex for it now. Essentially, the same is the case for science Olympiad winners. They memorize enough about a particular subject to be able to present it. Indeed, I've seen this firsthand early in my biotech career. The company I was working for at the time hired in a new hire, an Indian guy who was supposed to be hot stuff because he had just graduated from the chemistry program of a top-tier school in our state, and had previously, during high school, been, drumroll please, a science Olympiad winner for his regional part of our state. This guy wasn't on a visa. He had actually been born here. If I recall correctly, his family had immigrated in the early 1980s, before visas were that much of a thing. Anyways, after he'd been there a few weeks, I started chatting with him a bit, lunchroom convos and the like. I asked him about his science Olympiad project, and he lit up as if I'd asked him if I could give him the winning numbers to the Powerball. He even had printouts of his slides and presentation papers in his desk, ? And showed them to me one time. His project was about bromelain and its effect on blood coagulation, platelets, etc. Okay, I'm kind of interested in that area, not just because of the protein chemistry aspect of what our company did, but also because I'm interested in the biochemical aspects of nutrition, etc., just as a personal interest. So I started asking him some questions about it, stuff like enzymatic rates, effects of procoagulant concentrations, etc. The guy had no clue what I was talking about, even though it was directly relevant to what he'd done his project on. He literally didn't grok what I was getting at, even though some of the stuff was dealt with directly on his slides. It was then that I realized that just because someone wins a science Olympiad, this doesn't mean they know the science. And indeed, over the next couple of years I was there, until making a vertical transition to another company, we were always cleaning up metaphorical messes this guy made. This was well before I, quote-unquote, became red-pilled, and definitely before I started to realize just how detrimental visa holders can be to our country in general. Grok is understand completely. Yeah, I was like, I've never seen that used in a sentence that way before. That's kind of funny. He literally misspelled several words. You can hear him missing an E in at least 3 of his words. That's why I felt like he missed some letters, but like, whatever, man. Elon didn't come up with that word. I've never seen it outside of the AI, so thank you for the knowledges. And then there was another quote retweet of this guy. From someone named John Carter saying, "This is the same principle as when Soviet factory managers were graded based on tonnage of chandeliers they produced, as a result of which they optimized for the heaviest chandeliers they could manufacture. It's just Goodhart's law. When the target becomes the measure, it ceases to be a good measure. White people are less prone to this because we understand that the purpose of a spelling bee is a bit of fun to see who's the most well-read. We lack the inclination to spend 10 hours a day grinding with flashcards just to beat a spelling bee. Same with science fairs. We do them for fun, and it's assumed that winners will be the smart kids who really enjoy doing experimentation and research. Asian strivers, I wouldn't call them Asian, right? I mean, that's like the British cop-out, right? Don't understand this at all. They just see status and chase it by optimizing for the measure. Result being that they outcompete white kids because on paper they look like geniuses. But it's all hollow." And that makes sense if you're literally competing to gain a status instead of competing for, like, the spirit of the event, as it were. And memorizing a whole bunch of words that you're unable to, like, know the definitions to and be able to use in your natural lexicon. What is that going to be useful for? Asian because Chinese students do this too? Oh, I thought that was just like a ton of rampant cheating, rather. That also explains the rampant cheating in video games. Huh, I never thought about it that way. But that does kind of make sense. Have you ever wanted a pet, but the responsibility of remembering to feed and water something alive is a horrifying prospect? Get your very own Korsche today. This little guy is too low IQ to understand it's not alive. Do you already own the Conco's My Little Padded Room Magical Girl Kirsche plush? Well, get this companion Korsche to keep her company. Or maybe you just want to commit war crimes with a reliable partner who won't snitch to Interpol about your dastardly doings. Get your Korsche today. The Korsche will continue to love you, no matter what. Except if you try to do it. Do not the Korsche. The Korsche is for loving, eating, and war crimes, not for doing. Buy a Korsche for your Korsche so that they don't get lonely inside your walls. Korsches are valuable employees of Korsche Mart, and if you find a Korsche reverted back to a Kirsche, please call 1-800-KORSCHE now to have her return to her original residence. Korsches are also an endangered species due to severe retardation, overeating, and excessive use by world powers and military conflicts. Please know that owning a Korsche does not give you the right to do it. The feds are listening to your every move. If you or a loved one has been assaulted by a Korsche, contact authorities immediately, as you will not make it. You can buy your very own life-size Korsche or a Korsche for your Korsche starting May 8th at 3 p.m. EST through June 5th at 8 p.m. EST. Get yours now before they escape and are gone forever. Cernovich saying online gambling is one of the greatest social evils unleashed on young men, especially, and also families. Yet, almost every conservative moralizing podcaster promotes this poison. Doesn't add up. And I kind of get a little bit of both sides, right? Like, I can understand someone being like, I should be able to take a sponsorship for something that has potentially negative effects, right? Like gambling or like an alcoholic beverage, or like if somebody had like a weed sponsorship. I know like Pay Money Wubbies have done stuff with like Adam and Eve. You know, people are against like masturbation and sex toys and pornography, right? So like there are some sponsorships that happen like this, and I understand why people take them, because it's like, you should be responsible for yourself. I can have my opinions and my criticisms of something, and if I take a sponsorship because I am a responsible adult and I can imbibe, let's say, weed gummies on a relatively normal scale without impairing myself, that doesn't necessarily mean everyone in my audience will be able to practice the same restraint and the same amount of moderation. But people will have the opinion, like, I can do that. It's on people in my audience to have that same level of, like, self-responsibility, right? And so they'll take it and they'll be like, I'm going to promote this. You can do it if you want. I don't care, right? And then there are other people, like I even talked to that recent like sponsorship finder guy where he was like, yeah, most content creators just don't give a fuck. They just want the bag. And it's like that is a very common thing where it's like you'll take any sponsorship. You'll take like Ridge Wallet. You'll take BetterHelp. You'll take fucking all of these like just crazy sponsorships, and half of them end up coming out as scams. You didn't care because you just wanted the bag. There are those content creators as well. And then there's another layer of it where pretty much everyone to the right of fucking Chairman Mao has been viciously attacked, and mobs go after their sponsors. And so if anyone to the right of Mao has been consistently dropped by sponsors and is now a black mark for sponsors to take on in some cases because they don't want to face the wrath of the mob, what the fuck are those creators supposed to do? Especially if they have like a dedicated and like loyal audience, and then they try to cultivate some kind of just not lying to people, like I do, I would say, right? Like what are you gonna do? Like you have to make money from somewhere, and it's either take a sponsorship from something you might disagree with to a degree, but hope your audience has the same level of self-responsibility to moderate themselves, or you just go get a regular job because you have no access to any sponsorships anymore that you might want because that psychopathic mob has made companies terrified of interacting with you. Also true, normal sponsors won't touch right-wing political commentators if they don't have a corporate backer. Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. And it's also why for like a while I was told like, well, you should get into a company and you should have some sort of dedicated management because that will cause the mob to attack you less since you have a corporate backing. And it's like, yeah, but the way that VTuber corporations work and the way that hate mobs work and the way that I've seen people in corporations together viciously attack each other when they're supposed to be gen mates, I don't really want to deal with that. Plus, anything I say, that vicious mob is going to try and attribute that to other people who didn't say it and who might even disagree with me. And they wouldn't deserve that flack. And so, like, the only time I even really tried to reach out and do something like that was with Aviel and Idlecore, where I was like, yeah, I don't want to be part of, like, an official gen, because I don't want any of the girls to get any flack from, like, crazy psychopaths online. But it would be nice if I could have some, like, management outside of that, right? Like an unofficial kind of, like, you just help me with certain things, blah, blah, blah. But unfortunately, Aviel had his own issues, and that company ended up going under. And then also, unfortunately, Mythic, I guess, didn't turn out to be exactly what it was, and, you know. Countless amount of doxings by jealous women when a genmate got 2 times their viewers. I mean, it's a meme for a reason, but you have absolutely no idea just how disgustingly high school vicious it gets, with some people literally claiming ownership of their audience and seeing collabs as like, oh, this person is leeching and stealing my audience, so we can't have collabs with them. It's like, what? The audience goes where they want to go, brother. Like, you don't control them. I don't understand this mindset. This is also, I used to think I was paid under the table by fishmen, literally to do the opposite of what I said would happen if I was inside the company. I have absolutely no idea what you mean by this, but there are under the table deals that do go on in content creation. And it's like, FTC guidelines be fucked, I guess. The right needs an actual reliable patronage network that the left has. That way the right is less susceptible to cancel mob efforts. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. There need to be more companies that just don't say anything. Don't acknowledge the mob, don't deal with the mob. And then that problem becomes when people who are also part of that sponsor try to use their weight to strong arm the sponsor to get rid of someone they don't like. Even if sponsors can ignore the mass cancel mob of freaks online, when that pressure comes internally, and they're just like, well, okay, I have these 5 people who tell me if you don't drop this one person, we're all going to walk. What am I supposed to do here? You know? And it's like those kinds of people that throw their weight around in order to harm other people instead of having a, like, yeah, I don't care, they believe different than me, whatever. It just blows my mind. Because it's like, I mean, to use like an example, there are obviously people who are partnered with Gamersups that you guys would disagree with, you guys would dislike, you guys would probably even heavily want to go after it because they're going to continue the, like, oh, you know, Charlie Kirk deserved it, or the president should have gotten assassinated kind of rhetoric, right? But, like, you're not going to come at me and be like, Kirsche, I demand you drop your sponsor because I can't, in good faith, buy your merch or your products because you have this minor association with somebody else being part of a similar company. None of you have ever done that to me. And it's wild to me hearing that, like, other people's audiences have them in such a stranglehold that they can't be like, yeah, I have nothing to do with another person. If you're gonna support me, you can support me. It doesn't support the other person. I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about. It just makes me feel like those specific creators have zero fucking spine, and they're so audience captured that they've put themselves in a corner they don't know how to get out of. London is building this on the 4th plinth of Trafalgar Square. It'll be complete by this September. And it's a giant black woman with a hideous dress in a strange position. So the date for next artwork to stand atop the 4th plinth. The next statue to stand atop Trafalgar Square's 4th plinth will be unveiled in September. Lady in Blue by New York-based artist Chabalala Self is a bronze and blue homage to a young woman, which she says reflects many of today's Londoners. Yeah, at this point, it's like Britain has been conquered and they're now just completing the humiliation ritual. And I have another tab for that, don't worry, this isn't the only statue that they've been erecting for a humiliation ritual in recent time. It will replace Mil Vicis un Instante 1,000 times in an instant by Teresa Margolez, which is currently in place. Apparently this is like 1,000 faces of like transgender people or something. Yeah, trans and non-binary faces unveiled on 4th plinth. This is currently what's installed there. Hundreds of plaster casts of transgender and non-binary people have been unveiled as the latest installation on the Trafalgar Square 4th plinth in central London. By Mexican artist Teresa Margolez, features the faces of 726 trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people. The plinth was built in 1841 to display a permanent statue of William IV, but money ran out. The fourth plinth is a well-known art commission supported by the Mayor of London, putting internationally renowned artists into the heart of London. The artists are independently chosen by the fourth plinth commissioning group, but the public were invited to have their say on the shortlist. 15 works have been displayed on the plinth since 1999 when Mark Wallinger's Ecce Homo was installed. Esse Homo, I think maybe? Self said that she had a desire to bring a contemporary every woman to Trafalgar Square. Describing the statue, she said, "She is not an idol to venerate or a historic figurehead to commemorate. She is a woman striding forward into our collective future with ambition and purpose. She is a Londoner who represents the city's spirit." The statue will be patinaed with lapis lazuli blue, a rare and refined pigment. "I have London to thank for many milestones in my practice. The city has truly supported my artistic development and is the best possible home for this powerful figure." And then, I saw this. In Bradford, they've spent £800,000 to install this, the Tower of Now. It is a church spire inverted and being driven into the ground by the weight of the Islamic minaret above it. It is a celebratory monument to the rape and conquest of a conquered people. And I can't really disagree. Like, the Tower of Now, I'm guessing, is supposed to be like, look at all of these different architectures from different cultures, but they have the, like, cathedral spire being driven into the ground with, like, the Tower of Babel ornamentary here, and then you have, like, Grecian or Roman columns, and then you have more, like, some other kind of architectural column work, I'm not sure, and then you have, like, Japanese and Chinese, like, roofing ornaments, and squished between them is, like, Gothic architecture, and then on top of that is, like, the Islamic minaret that you see on Islamic temples. And just turn it around. If it's all fine, they shouldn't care, right? And someone down here asked about the installation, and it is Saeed Qureshi, a British Pakistani artist based in Bradford. He created the Tower of Now 2025, a 15-meter or 49-foot mixed media public sculpture made out of wood, steel, fiberglass, resin, and sand, commissioned for Bradford 2025 UK City of Culture. It was installed at Hollings in Bradford. Qureshi was born in Pakistan and moved to Bradford at age 8. His work often explores themes of cultural diversity, identity, memory, and architecture, blending motifs from various traditions, Gothic, Islamic, Roman, Chinese, etc., including Judeo-Christian, Hindu, Islamic, and Buddhist elements, to reflect Bradford's multicultural community. This matches the sculpture in the X-Post, an inverted church spire-like base topped with a minaret-like element, which has drawn strong reactions for its symbolic interpretation. Official descriptions frame it as a celebration of diversity and shared British identity. So it's very interesting that continuously monuments are erected to celebrate the conquering of the British people. Celebration! How is Bradford multicultural? Great question. Next question. It shows how Islam crushes all things. And the Brits went from the Blitz in World War II to accepting this, you know? Destroy the symbol of oppression and send the artist back to Pakistan. I think the worst part is, like, this actually doesn't look terrible. It's like one of the only pieces of modern artwork I've seen that doesn't look like just absolute shit. So it's more just like, we've conquered you and now we're going to remake your landscape in our version of, like, things that look nice instead of the ever-present communist horrific-looking artwork. Chris Rufo posted, California spent nearly $189 million to give every state prisoner a free iPad. That sounds like a great use of money. We interviewed a dozen death row inmates who told us that prisoners are using the tablets to watch porn, engage in X-rated chats, and groom minors on the outside. I'm so shocked that criminals would do horrific things. Under Governor Gavin Newsom, California has sought to transform its massive prison system into a Nordic-style rehabilitation program. Newsom has placed a moratorium on all executions, transferred condemned prisoners to facilities across the state, dismantled San Quentin State Prison's death row, and turned the notorious prison into a therapeutic center, with art, classrooms, a cafe, and podcast studios. Brother, what? As a part of this transformation, the Newsom administration approved a $189 million contract to provide new digital tablets, generic flat-screen devices in a plastic shell, to every inmate in the state prison system at no cost to offenders. The administration heralded the effort to replace inmates' old tablets, which were piloted in 2018 and given to nearly all prisoners by 2023 as a step toward digital equity. You know, I don't want prisoners to have digital equity. I want them to make bigger rock into smaller rock until their sentence is over. For justice-impacted individuals. Hey, there's that fucking phrase again that we learned from Bridge. That's a wonderful thing that we're going to be seeing going forward. Who could, in theory, use the devices to contact their families, consume educational content, and learn new technology. In reality, taxpayer-funded tablets have also been used for more lurid endeavors. In this exclusive City Journal investigation, we contacted dozens of death row inmates who told us that prisoners in the state system use such devices to watch porn and have explicit sexual conversations. Some prisoners, according to a former high-ranking California corrections official, use their tablets to groom minors. Though the state has claimed to regulate explicit content, the inmates told us that users can easily evade detection. When reached for comment, the California Department of Corrections Rehabilitation said that the tablets were tightly controlled education tools that provided inmates with access to the Bible, education, and re-entry resources that actually reduce crime. There's literally taxpayer-funded criminals grooming minors at this point. What fucking clown ball are we in? I hate this so much. And I don't even know what I can say about it anymore without glowing with the fucking power of 7 trillion suns. Oh yeah, and high schoolers never bypass blocks either. And high schoolers are just typically like random innocent teenagers, right? These are people who have already broken the law, who have already shown a complete disregard for any kind of guardrails or safeties put in place. Let's be fucking real. Why do you feel like some of these psychos are gonna find streamers on the tablets and then stalk them when they get out? I hope Joey Spaghetti is watching me right now. Joey Spaghetti, please don't forget about me. No, why would you give these clowns any network access whatsoever? For people who don't understand the Joey Spaghetti reference, because this was an obscure prisoner dating stream I did a million years ago, there was some like Italian guy named Joey something, and I just kept calling him Joey Spaghetti, that was on death row, and he was on the death row area of a prisoner dating website where you could like start having pen pal conversations and try to date a prisoner. And Joey Spaghetti's entire thing was like, I didn't do it. They framed me. I didn't do it. And yet I'm still in here. And then you look up the articles and you're like, that man fucking did done it. His last meal was spaghetti. He's probably still on death row because like those never actually get carried out. He was a mob hitman, the perfect prison himbo. Damn, Joey Spaghetti, forget about it. Yes, my husband. Let's get you out of jail and get a chopped Guido sandwich. That fucking sandwich lives rent-free in my head. But inmates told us a different story. For some, the devices have become personal sex machines. That's what my himbo will call me. In the words of one inmate, California's death row is populated with desperately horny criminals who see the tablets as a way to satisfy their basest fantasies and desires, all thanks to the California taxpayer. In the 1980s, a rapist and serial murderer named Robert Mowry earned the nickname the Tipster Killer for calling in anonymous tips identifying the locations of the dead bodies he left behind. During this period, he killed a woman by strangling her with a nylon clothesline, strangled and killed another 2 women, and brutally raped a 4th before he was caught by authorities. Now, Maury is living at the state prison facility in Stockton, California, where he has viewed pornography on his taxpayer-funded digital tablet. In an interview, Maury told us inmates can receive nude pictures and watch pornography through their devices. In his case, he claimed to have received a topless photo from a 22-year-old German psychology student who was hoping that I would share my story with her for the class project. I don't think she needs to show titties to get the story for a class project, buddy. What the fuck? After the student sent the photo, Maury said he flirted with her for a while. Maury said another way that inmates can watch pornography is through the video chat application. In this scheme, he explained, an inmate can call someone on the outside. That person can put porn on their TV, and the inmate can watch with them. Maury specified that he has never explicitly asked anyone to broadcast pornography in this manner, but when it happens, he just says, cool, and thank you. That is so fucking autistic. Like, I know he's talking about pornography, but like, imagine a scenario where a woman is just like, yeah, would you like to see my big titties? And then she just opens her shirt, and the guy's like, yeah, thumbs up, that's cool. Can you just imagine, like, the bewildered feeling that woman would have? He starts clapping. Nice, very cool. Samuel Amador, another serial killer who was sentenced to death, had a similar experience. He said inmates watch pornographic videos and have sexually explicit conversations through their tablets. The videos, he said, are delivered in 30-second clips. Amador has created a rotation on his tablet between explicit and wholesome content. I watch porn and short clips of my family at the beach. Wow, what an everyday man he is. And it's like, I don't think I would care if prisoners were watching pornography if they had the ability to, like, buy their own iPad. I could make the argument that, like, why are we allowing prisoners the comforts of having iPads and internet access? Because they definitely shouldn't have comfort. They're fucking prisoners for a reason, let's be real. We're literally talking about serial killers here. But the fact that they're taxpayer funded is, like, another level of egregiousness. Sometimes guards catch lewd messages, Amador said, but in general, the restrictions are easy to evade. They try to prevent us, he said about sexting, but we get around their bullshit. Jamar Tucker, a Capitol inmate at High Desert State Prison who has killed 3 men, noted the system's loopholes. He indicated that while the rules prohibit inmates from receiving nude photos, he has received videos of women dancing in a thong. He uses racy photos, he says, for sexual pleasure. All of these men on, this is a Capitol inmate. Is Capitol the same as death row? But either way, these are all murderers on death row or, like, highly contained imprisonment. Why are they still alive? Why are they still alive to be able to use loopholes in order to jerk off to pornographic material instead of already been buried underground decades ago? Can we just actually start using the death penalty again? This is fucking ridiculous. And, like, the same people that want these, like, murderers and insane people to be, like, in pornographic daycare, being able to groom minors on their iPads, they'll say this is great and progressive, but then they'll get mad at me for making a joke about Anders fucking Breivik, who also should be buried under the ground because he murdered tons of people. What are we doing here? Any one of these men are smarter than the entire California judiciary? Unfortunately, that's just true. A controversial take, but if they can boof an iPad, they should be allowed to keep it. I don't know if boofing an iPad is possible, but I did know a chick in high school. I've told the story before. I was in a car with some friends and, like, a couple of other people that I wasn't, like, really familiar with. And I guess one of the people was, like, super angry at one of the other chicks. And so Chick A took Chick B's phone and put the phone, which was the fucking Motorola Razr flip phone at the time. Chick A took Chick B's Moto Razr and put Chick B's Razr inside her vagina.
What a whore!
And then gave it back to Chick B. And I'm just like, I know this was supposed to be a grotesque prank, like, haha, she's touching my vaginal juices, but who's the real loser here? Because who's the one that can fit a fucking cell phone inside of their vagina? Like, let's just be honest for a moment.
Did you hear what that guy said?
I just freely slide it in with no prep. I was just like, what the fuck? How can you do that even? Talk about call for a good time.
Let's try to register the honey today.
The potential for abuse is obvious. The Newsom administration has made the tablet program universal with no access restrictions based on offense. And inmates, including child predators, can communicate with members of the public through their tablets, apparently with no age restrictions at a cost of 5 cents per text message or 16 cents per minute of video. Wonder who's paying the text rates? You know, that's actually a good question. Is it like from their commissary, I guess, that they pay it? This is from the cdcr.ca.gov. California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation announces reduced cost of telephone calls for incarcerated population. Under the new contract, the use of kiosks and tablets will allow for on-demand communication with family and friends, and grooming minors, including secured email. There will be a significant reduction in the cost of messaging from the current rate of 30 cents per message to 5 cents per message. The technology will also provide access to educational, vocational, and therapeutic content, as well as rehabilitative programs and activities, such as grooming children. It doesn't say that. Such as knowledge-based games and books. These devices also allow all activities to be closely tracked and monitored for safety and security. but not of minors. In a recent case, Nathaniel Ray Diaz, who was convicted of committing sex crimes against a 12-year-old girl, allegedly used a prison-issued tablet to contact and exploit her from inside the Avenal State Prison. Diaz allegedly told the girl to send him explicitly sexual images, which he received through a co-conspirator. The girl reportedly told investigators that Diaz forced her to speak with him through the tablet for hours every day, from the time she came home from school until the prison phones turned off at midnight. How in the fuck, if he was convicted of sex crimes against a specific 12-year-old girl, how in the fuck was he able to contact that specific already victim of him? And like nobody caught on to it. What the fuck? Prosecutors allege that in total, Diaz made thousands of calls to the girl, violating a no-contact order and, by soliciting explicit photographs and exploiting a minor, committing additional child sex crimes. Can I just point out that somebody already put in prison for child sex crimes has zero incentive to not commit more child sex crimes? Like what are we fucking doing here? This is why we need the death penalty. Why is this happening? Why must we suffer these monsters? The Eastern District of California Attorney's Office told us that Diaz is in custody awaiting trial. Douglas Eckenrod, a former deputy director of California's adult parole operations, indicated that the Diaz case is only the tip of the iceberg. He was in the room as the state discussed expanding the tablet program after an initial test run, and had raised concerns about pornography, grooming, and other abuses. These were apparently brushed aside. Now, he says, there is no way to monitor the nearly 90,000 inmates in the state prison system who have access to taxpayer-funded devices. I would bet my pension that there's a vast amount of childhood pornography on the tablets, said the former official. There are probably several thousand children that are currently being groomed. What is California doing to stop this abuse? Last month, state officials attempted to tighten restrictions on prison tablets, formally banning banning obscene text messages, sexually explicit images, and sexual behavior on video calls. But death row inmates we interviewed said that prisoners could easily bypass the restrictions. Maury, the serial killer, indicated that prisoners, especially younger men who grew up with the internet, have found ways to continue viewing pornography and sending sexual messages to the outside. If you try hard enough, there is always a way around the system. Once again, these are people put in prison because they do not give a shit about any kind of system, any kind of guardrails, any kind of rules. Why are we giving them this kind of access? Doesn't make any fucking sense. Do we even need a fucking trial at this point? He committed the same crime again.
Actually, it's a constitutional right to a trial, and so even if someone actually is caught on camera doing it, they still should get a trial.
Meantime, despite the obvious risks, Governor Gavin Newsom is moving full speed ahead with his initiative to reimagine our prison system and turn San Quentin into the nation's most innovative rehabilitation facility. Newsom has offered no indication that he will reverse course on the free tablet program. In fact, the new vendor contract allows for 4 one-year extensions, which could push its total cost to $315 million. At least one Democratic legislator is demanding that the state make inmates' messages free of charge. Digital tablets mellowed California prisons. Now a tech migration is riling users? California transformed the way its prison population connects to the outside world by handing every incarcerated person an electric tablet. Suddenly, incarcerated people could exchange text messages in real time with family and friends from inside their cells, albeit for a price. Where's that? Who is the politician? That's what I want to know. Which is also a way to secure Securus winning in the contract. Huge nationwide to Senator Josh Becker, who in 2022 wrote the law that mandated and subsidized the okay, here we go. This is huge nationwide issue, said Senator Josh Becker, who in 2022 wrote the law that mandated and subsidized the zero-charge incarcerated calls. I'm grateful that we're leading now in California, at least on the phone call piece. Becker, a Democrat whose district includes Menlo Park, has his sights set on passing more legislation this year to make e-messaging free also. It's the injustice of the whole thing, said Becker, and not only injustice, but also the illogical nature of charging in a world where telecommunication costs are moving closer to free. He said his office is keeping a close eye on the Securus contract and how it goes out about charging consumers. I cannot say what I think of this man because I would be banned and cancelled. but holy shit, what a piece of garbage. What an absolute piece of garbage. What does this guy fucking look like? This is exactly the kind of person that would say that disgusting shit. What a piece of shit individual that deserves absolutely nothing out of life. Criminals in suits helping criminals in jumpsuits, just in case the day ever comes they end up behind bars themselves. I have a feeling if there was ever a point in time where there were like a chance for mass politician incarceration would not be what's happening. It would be very French what would be happening. At least one Democratic state legislator, that candy ass we just saw, is demanding that the state make inmates' messages free of charge. Eckenrod, who anticipated the dark side of digital equity, believes California has opened the floodgates to abuse. We created a pathway for them to reach out and groom folks, he said. There are going to be victims that didn't need to have been victims because of these decisions. Yep. California making dumb decisions. Who could have seen it coming? Christopher Rufo saying, earlier this month, we reported that California prison inmates were using state-issued iPads to watch porn, have explicit video chats, and groom minors on the outside. Now, the House Oversight Committee is demanding documents from Gavin Newsom. This is a scandal. That's crazy that it took like a little over a week for them to actually get some kind of official response. Like, something might actually be done. Holy shit. This is Congress of the United States, House of Representatives, Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Dear Governor Newsom, the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is conducting oversight of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation's Prisoner Digital Tablet Program and the administration of federal grant funds by the California Board of State and Community Corrections. According to reports, this program distributed tablet computers to nearly all California prisoners by mid-2023. Recent reporting indicates that California's prison inmates are exploiting these state-issued tablets to access and distribute pornographic content. Even worse, reports indicate that some inmates have used these tablets to sexually exploit women and minors from their prison cells. These shocking revelations about prisoner tablet use call into question the federal funds and grants given to California for the specific purpose of reducing crime and rehabilitating criminals. Just as California's prisoner tablet program reportedly achieves the exact opposite purpose. The committee's request documents and communications to inform its oversight of federal funds given to California through the U.S. Department of Justice's Bureau of Justice Affairs. So this isn't even California taxpayers. This is federal taxpayer money being given to fund iPads for prisoners. That's kind of wild. While the prisoner tablet program seems to have been funded primarily through CDCR California state funds, the federal government nonetheless sends millions of federal tax dollars to California via grants, the intent of which is criminal rehabilitation, crime prevention, or state and local law enforcement or court support. Since 2021, BSCC has received nearly $70 million in grants from the Bureau of Justice Assistance, Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grants Program. In the same period, California organizations, institutes, and municipal governments have received around $16.5 million in federal BJA Second Chance Act awards. Why? And how many of those Second Chance Act awards have gone to people who should not be getting second chances? How many of those people are the ones with like the 14, 20, 50, 80 long rap sheets, man? And the House is currently considering a 5-year reauthorization of the Second Chance Act's grant programs under the U.S. Department of Justice. In 2023, the U.S. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services approved $410 million in funding to support California's justice-involved reentry and rehabilitation infrastructure through the California Advancing and Innovating Medi-Cal Program's Justice-Involved Reentry Initiative. I hate how all of California's shit is named with like really fucking commie nonsense. Justice-Involved Reentry Initiative. They're fucking criminals. Shut up. Congress did not authorize the Byrne JAG program, the Second Chance Act, or any other federal criminal justice grant, so California could build an environment for convicted felons to use state-issued, taxpayer-funded devices to sexually exploit children or view pornography. I cannot believe that this is something I am reading out loud that's actually happening and isn't just like some horrific plot line in some sci-fi movie. The committee is concerned that California's programs may be using taxpayer funds to perpetuate sexual violence. The most apparent example is that of Nathaniel Diaz, convicted in 2023 of sexual crimes against a 12-year-old girl. who, with his state-issued prison tablet, began sexually messaging and exploiting the same underage girl. Diaz's indictment also reveals the exceptionally weak safeguards on California's prisoner tablet program, as in addition to having 2 accomplices receive and send sexually explicit images of the victim to him, Diaz was somehow able to call the victim thousands of times. Not once, not a couple times, not a dozen times, not 100 times, thousands, plural. Where's the fucking oversight? Yet on May 13th, 2026, on your X account, you dismissed claims of inmate abuse of the prison tablet program, claiming that inmate use is monitored, recorded, searchable, and investigated. Well, when the government is also full of child grooming pedophiles, it's no surprise they don't want to actually do anything about the ones already in prison. You went even further to claim that these tablets are used for education, rehabilitation, family communication, and re-entry support proven to reduce crime. CDCR officials claimed that the tablets were provided to give inmates access to the Bible, education, and re-entry resources that actually reduce crime. Data from the California legislature projects a total California state prison population of 90,000 adults this year. This prison population stands in contrast to the 60,000 employees of CDCR, who, in addition to monitoring the daily lives of prisoners as part of their jobs, are responsible for monitoring prisoners' tablet use. Put simply by former Deputy Director of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation Division of Adult Parole Operations, that is a long fucking title, Douglas Eckenrod, it is not viable for the prison to monitor 90,000 inmates and their tablet usage. Former Director Eckenrod added that I would bet my pension that there's a vast amount of childhood pornography on the tablets. It is highly concerning, though not surprising, that convicted criminals found various ways around the safety controls on the tablet program, engaged in criminal behavior via the tablets, and consumed, sent, and received child sexual abuse material. To inform the committee's oversight of federal criminal rehabilitation funding, the committee requests the following documents and communications covering the time period January 1st, 2017 to present, as soon as possible, but no later than June 9th, 2026. Do you think they'll actually send anything? And do you think what they'll send will be actually everything that they're supposed to send? I have no faith. You know how you can provide access to a Bible? By handing them a Bible, the physical kind, made of paper. Wow, are you some kind of bigot? Some kind of bigot wanting them to read a book? People don't read books anymore. Not even children in schools read books. That's ableist. All documents and communications among or between the CDCR, BSCC, and any inmate tablet vendors regarding pornographic, criminal, or otherwise malicious use of state-issued tablets by inmates. 2. Documentation sufficient to show whether any federal funds were spent on the inmate tablet program, including a detailed list of fund recipients and sub-recipients for all grants awarded to California via the Department of Justice, and all related itemized expenditure reports submitted to federal agencies. 3. Documentation and communication sufficient to show that all inmate tablet activity is, as you claim, monitored, recorded, searchable, and investigated. To ensure no misuse, including all monitoring reports, site visit records, and desk reviews conducted by CDCR, BSCC, or federal officials on sub-grantees or grantees, and any corrective action plans issued to grantees or sub-grantees. 4. All documents and communications between the Office of the Governor of California and CDCR or BSCC regarding prisoner tablet misuses or criminal activity. And 5. All documents and communications regarding the restrictions on inmate usage of the tablet program. Best case scenario that comes out of this, in reality, is that this tablet program gets completely shut down and is never implemented anywhere else again. Best case scenario that I would love to see, but I don't think would happen, is that everyone involved in this iPad distribution prisoner program also gets charged with, like, criminal conspiracy with child pornography. The Community on Oversight and Government Reform is the principal oversight committee of the U.S. House of Representatives and has broad authority to investigate any matter at any time under House Rule X. To arrange for delivery of responsive documents or to ask any related follow-up questions, please contact the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform majority staff. Thank you for your attention to this important matter. And then it has, obviously, the signatures here of James Comer, the chairman, Brandon Gill, the chairman, Tim Burchett, the chairman. So we'll see. We'll see if they, if California manages to give any of this information by June 9th, I think they said, right? June 9th. So hopefully sometime in the next 2 weeks, we'll get an update on this and see what the fuck happens.